Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I'm proud to be with Michael K. Waterman, also known as Setna of Khemet, and he'll be sharing with us the secrets of cobalt blue healing. And to do so, he is dressed all in cobalt from head to toe. Greetings and welcome, Setna. How are you?
Uncle Judd, Senev, and blessings to all. I'm quite well. As you know, I'm in Savannah, Georgia. The weather was phenomenal today. It was 80 degrees and breezy. That southern breeze,
Uh-huh.
And we were sitting. Poor me, I was sitting in the cabana by the poolside, having my lunch around 1:30 or so. And I prepared for this. I did a ritual earlier to the Lord Amun, who, of course, is a cobalt god and a healer. And I am wearing a cobalt robe that is also with gold leaf. In case you can't see that on your set, my headpiece is also cobalt. There is an Araya cobra on my head and on my arm, and also the goddess Isis is with me. And I'm also wearing a lapis lazuli and a 4 carat sapphire. And I have, of course, with me one of my famous blue cobalt stones. I carry these cobalt crystals. I've been using them since, oh, I don't know, 19, let's just say 1994 or earlier. I discovered the energy when someone gave me a cobalt blue scarab. And then I started to research how one uses that energy. And I saw that, you know, people knew that anyway, kind of, that cobalt healing was something that was good for bringing the heart chakra and the whole circulatory system together. After all, the blue blood is the bad blood. It's taking it away and it's washing it out. So the red blood comes forward. So you have first a blue cross, like Blue Cross, my insurance company.
I'm as
And
well.
then you have, yeah, I'm sorry, that's all me. And then you have a red cross, and the red cross is for the purified blood, the blood that's going to give the body oxygen. But first, you must have the red, and the red and blue in the veins and the arteries are, what make us live, give us, clean out the body, and also nourish the body. So, what I do always is I work with my cobalts and I do a prayer and I ask for the All High. Now, in my case, the All High, I use Egyptian energies, as everybody can kind of see. So I work with the Lord Amun and also the different forms of the solar energy. I know the sun is gold, which is why I'm wearing also gold, but the sky, Nuit, is blue. And I have little stars all over my outfit as well. They're Arabic stars. I couldn't get them in Egyptian, so I tried. The next best thing, I went over to the other side of the Sinai and got Arabic Arabic gold. So what we want to do is focus. So clear, everyone. If you're listening, please clear your minds. I want you to think about yourself in a dark space, and I want you to see over your head a white light. And I want you to create coming down behind you, perhaps to your right, all the way down, is a green light. Green is for growth and health and newness, after all. And that's going to connect to a corner. On the other side, we're going to have a sort of an earthy brown light to come down. Those two will bring more energy forward. I want you to now think about the red light directly in front of you, perhaps to your right, and coming from the white pyramid above down to the corner. And now I want you to think it behind you to your left. I want you to see the blue light. And it starts in the middle of that white light atop you. and it's going to come down all the way down. And now all the lights are going to come together, the purplish brown, the blue, the red, the green, and it's all going to mix together, and it makes a white light above us and below us. And now we are standing in an octahedron. And what is an octahedron? This is an octahedron. An octahedron is a pyramid on top of an upside down pyramid. I use this fluorite, which I've had for many, many years, because it's an octahedron. I tried to get a blue cobalt colored one, but I was at a gem and mineral show in Jacksonville, Florida, which is quite beautiful. And I couldn't find, but I had this old octahedron. So we have now the pyramid on top, the light around us, and now all that light is going to come below you. And when the top and the bottom light, there will be a fusion of energy. And imagine from the bottom and the top of that pyramid, the pyramids above you and below you, an envelopment, a bringing around, a globe of light. And so we are working now in an octahedron, a double pyramid, surrounded in a globe of beautiful white, pure protected light. And imagine yourself sitting in the middle of this octahedron, inside this beautiful globe. You are safe, you are protected, and you are powerful because you are the one doing this. From my pagan people, I say this: let there remain within this frame no adverse thought nor enmity. Here our will I command of thee, for as our will, so must it be. And all would say, so must it be. Now, being high priest, Hem Getcheru Tepi, which means the servant, the first servant, the first one that will serve not only the higher forces, but all those who are there to worship and adore and participate. So the high priest is the highest of servants. He's not a king. He's not a ruler. I am here to serve, and I'm a Virgo. Virgo, if anyone knows about the zodiac, is the sign of service. So I was born to serve, and I have 7 out of 9 planets in Virgo, which, by the way, is still retrograde. If I can interject a little silliness, we have 4 more days. And believe me, I'm still feeling it. Oh boy, am I feeling it. Take your cobalt, and I do this. I want everybody that's listening or watching to focus on the cobalt energy. I'm bringing it closer without dropping it. We also know I'm a klutz. The cobalt energy is in front of us. Imagine the cobalt energy now reaching to you, beaming, flying, manifesting its energy to you. Breathe in, breathe out slowly. Release the breath. Think of the blue sky, clear, perfect. As Hercules often says, that period just before the sky goes black, that royal purplish blue, that beautiful, dark, rich blue. Allow that energy to fill you now. Take it in, breathe it in. Feel your lungs clearing, your head clearing. Go from the top of your head down to the back of your head, and down we're going to go onto the spine. Feel the energy, that cool blue energy, unblocking any concentrated pain, any confusion, any fear, anything that will obstruct you from doing what you need to do. The ancient Greek titaness Hecate on some of her temples has 4 words: I can, I will. And I want you to think of those things so that that is going to take that blue cobalt healing into you. I can, I will, I can, I will. For those of you who are like me, who are of Khemet, which is Egypt, to those who do not know, I want you to think of the goddess Nuit. She is the goddess of the sky. My sash that's above my headpiece is covered with little tiny Egyptian stars and ankhs, like the night sky. And feel that energy, the cool breeze of the night. I'm very fortunate here because where I am, the sky becomes that almost blue velvet black, and then little pricks of light, little pinpricks of light appear, and then the bright ones, which are the twinkling ones, which are the planets, appear. So I want you to think and feel, oh, that cool, beautiful blue. And it's coming down on your spine. And you can feel it also touching, tickling your ribs in the back and your lungs. You feel the lungs feeling refreshed. Clean air coming in, fresh air coming in. The blue energy is chasing the bad air out, the bad poisons and toxins. We are very much a planet these days of toxins. Would you not agree, Hercules?
I would greatly agree. This is a time of purification in a very extreme and visible way.
And so this is what we want to do. Now, I am not pushing or advocating my religion, but I'm going to ask you to use this chant, which is of the solar deities, and it is also breathing energy. Breathe in, breathe out, and think. Ra, Atum, Atem, Aten, Temu, Bennu, Ra, Amun, Atum, Atem, Temu, Bennu, Ra, Atum, Atem, Aten, Temu, Bennu, Ra, Atum, Amun, Atem, Temu, Bennu. Breathe it in, breathe it out. As you're imagining this, as you're breathing this, as you're saying these words, imagine on the horizon now that in the cobalt darkness, there is a drop of light in the center in front of you. And that is the sun, that is Ra, that is Amun. But now you want to add one more word. And as we are in the time of the resurrection in Christianity and in Passover in Judaism and in Islam, I want you to think of resurrection, bringing yourself back. And so in Egypt, in Kemet, there is a god of the resurrection. It is Osiris. And his name in Egyptian is Asar, Asar. And so to those chants that we've done before, we will do Ra, Amun, Atem, Aten, Temu, Benu, Asar. He's coming up, Asar. He's waking up from a dead sleep. The goddess Isis has woven with her wings a spell around him, and all of the parts that his brother destroyed are now unified as one being again. And the blue light has come to him from the eye of Horus, which is called Uchat. And it is going into his heart chakra, which is where my eye of Horus, as you see, is on my heart. And it fills him with life, with Ankh. And of course, all things of life are green. And so now the blue has mixed with the yellow of the horizon, and we have green. And we are awake, we are healthy, we are refreshed, and we feel better about ourselves. For those of you with your eyes closed still, I want you to imagine that you're sitting again in that middle place. You have your cobalt or your crystal in your hand. Many people that I work with use crystals. This is the time of crystals. So this is a um, Atlantean quartz crystal. How I know that is it has the seeds in it, it has the energy and different occlusions, and it shines differently than any other crystal that I have. I want you to imagine now that we've refreshed, we are feeling better about ourselves. We put the cobalt down. I want you to imagine into the far right corner that light that we've used there is separating from the corners that separate the upper pyramid from the lower pyramid. I want you to take that light, which may be the green light, and bring that all the way back up into the white light. And that separates that corner from the far left corner. And there we have a yellow light, if you wish. Bring that all the way up to, and it separates. Now, that part, that triangle is dark. Now also bring that burgundy red energy that I told you about, to bring that up. Bring that all the way up to the top of the pyramid. And now the blue, finally, which is going to reach with your cobalt and allow that blue light to go all the way back up into the white. And now the reflection pyramid from below us has folded, and we are sitting in a triangle pyramid with only the white light above us. So we are connected to the God force, the goddess force, the Almighty, the All High. I do not say my way is best, anyone else's way is best. I call all of the God and goddess or higher force spirits the All High. And I can feel that you are all feeling what I do, that exaltation, that you're in the energy of a higher being. Now I want you to allow the white light above you to slowly, slowly go dim. And the pyramid is gone. The white sphere around us is almost folding like the top of a baby carriage. It's just folding back. And so it dissipates. Now, we think of from where we were to where we are, open our eyes. We are refreshed. We feel healthier. I am sending the cobalt energy to those who need it. And I say to you all, from the All High, I say, take this energy, go in perfect love, perfect trust, and peace. Go with life, healthy life, long life, robust health, and renewed prosperity and belief in yourself and the All High. Go with love for your brothers and sisters upon this planet, be they stone, be they air, be they crystal, be they animal, be they fish, bird, insect, any matter or form of life on this planet and above us. And I say, so must it be, and life, health, and prosperity. I breathe out, I put my crystal back, and I return you back to my Lord Hercules.
That was wonderful. Thank you so very much for sharing it. Um,
Most welcome.
my brain was going in a million different directions,
Yes.
springing from the things that you were saying, and I saw a practice that I'm going to be starting as of tomorrow. It was to take a cobalt blue goblet, and cobalt blue is one of my favorite colors, so we have goblets of cobalt blue to fill it with water and to keep it on my altar, and then to imbibe it before I take my nocturnal journeys into the astral plane in dreams.
I have 5 cobalt goblets on my altar. And that's interesting that we have that
Yes.
synchronicity, because I've always, all my life, and it came from my mother's mother, we've used cobalt energies for healing. Whenever one of us was sick, grandma would come with a cup, and the cup was made of a cobalt glass, very old ones, which I believe my sister may hopefully still have. And grandma would fill it with a cold water, and she took a lemon and she would squeeze and she would put a clove in the water. Cloves, eugenol, are an extremely healing product, herb, I should say, or spice. Um, and that was what we drank, and we would feel better. She said it was better than any kind of cough syrup or cold syrup, and it worked. Every time we would feel better in 3 days, always.
Well, I believe I have fresh lemon and I have cloves. I'm Greek, so we have plenty of cloves. So I will add those to the water. Thank you.
The other thing grandma did, and she always said that was the most important one, was to take clover honey, she would say the tip of a teaspoon and pour it in. And that was honey water. That's an ancient Roman cure-all also. And honey, as you know, is a natural antiseptic.
Yes. I've always been close to bees. When I was younger, the bees would come and sit on my finger and not bite me.
Mm. Well,
It was,
Harold Arlen wrote a beautiful song called Sleepin' Bee. It's a love spell, but it's also a way to entice or enchant the goddess Hecate, the Titaness Hecate. I don't wish to offend her by calling her as lowly as a goddess. She's far, far above the goddesses. But she would have a sleeping bee come to teach men how better to love women.
hmm, very interesting.
When a bee lies in the palm of your hand, you're bewitched and deep in love's long looked after land, where you'll find a sun-up sky with the morning dew, and where the rains go like dancing by, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it's a spell that she puts on the man so he falls in love with the right woman. If anybody had listened to her, that maybe all the messes of the world would have been much better, you know? And so I honor Hecate and I honor my high force goddess who's in the same thing, and that's Neith, the goddess of time and space, and she and Hecate are great friends. Hecate works with magic and brings energy that way. Neith weaves the fabric of time. She's the divine loom, and I think the word luminescent. She uses her loom and her shuttle to weave what's happening. It's kind of like she has magic pixels on her cloth and on her strings and on her little pieces that become the fabric of time itself. And we've done that, haven't we? We've broken up the world into little pixels. We're being pixelated right now, Hercules. You
That's
know,
true.
so there is something to that. Why did that happen that way? Because that's what's true in nature, that we're all made in these little teeny particles. Have you ever looked at the eye, for instance, of a fly?
Yes.
They have hundreds and hundreds of little pixels there on the particles on them, and they see kind of like what we see when we look through a screen. They see all these little pieces that make one piece. It's so interesting, you know. But what I'm trying to do here is to get everybody to understand that that color cobalt, the color blue, is a healing color, is the one I want you to use primarily. Now, also, yes, red is passion, and healing needs passion. It needs you to believe in yourself. You can't, as RuPaul would say, you can't love somebody else if you don't love yourself. You know, and so that's the passion. But so healing also needs that fire and that passion too, so that you work that way. In Egyptian tradition, I have the goddess Sekhmet. She's a warrior. She can be very terrible at times. But after her labors, like the labors of Hercules, Sekhmet was said to the god Ra. She said, "Now, Father, what would you have of me?" And he said, "There is high sickness here, love. I want you to go down and do battle with the sickness." And she went with Osiris' brother, the at that time Red Lord Set, who was forgiven for killing Osiris, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, tore him to pieces, and the entire divine force said, "You know what? We all have our bad days, so you cut him all up and you smothered him and you threw him all over the place." And as Gilda would say, it was always something. So they said, "Look, Set, honey, just go about your way now. Don't kill anybody else. But what we want you to do is attack disease. And we want you to take cousin Sekhmet with you." And so that's what happens. You have the Lord Sekhmet, who is violent and angry and vicious, and he uses that negative energy. Well, I guess pent it up energy these days. And he goes after cancer, and he goes after other illnesses. And Sekhmet does the same. So you're pulling from one side and the other, the male energy with the anger and the fire, and the female energy with the anger and the fire, and they tear the problem apart. And
That's
if you look at it that way, if you get that energy that way, it's going to help you focus on healing.
That's very true. Hercules, the Theban Hercules, he was someone who was like you asked, what would Jesus do? What would the Theban Hercules do? He'd hit you on the head with a bat, because that's how he survived in the mythology. But the Theban Hercules was worshipped as Iraklis Alexikakos, which means averter of evil. So he used that energy that's represented as hitting something with a big stick to fight disease. And he was used on charms and on inscriptions on doors and windows to keep evil out of um, certain areas and away from certain people. So I know what you're talking about.
People in outside of Egypt later on didn't understand the god Set. Now I'm Setna.
Yes.
I am the power of Set. I am his Na is power. I am his. I send his energy. And the ancient pharaoh, the great pharaoh Seti the first, was born with a war crown. They say the way his head was shaped, and it was blue because his mother squished his head kind of when she was giving birth. So he had this blue war crown on his head, and he said, "Oh my God, he looks like the god Set, who's not very attractive. I'm sorry, Set, but it's true. He has a head of an anteater." And all the gods and goddesses of Egypt have some have cats, some are dogs, some are frogs, some are all kinds of things. And he ended up being an anteater. So I don't know what the gods were thinking when they did that to him, but it made him angry. So my point is this: that after he had that little disagreement with Osiris, well, he killed him. Um, the gods forgave him and gave him the power to fight illness. So I want you to focus on that side. There are many people that are out there that look at Set as the devil. He's not. That's not what his. He had a temper tantrum. He's the super ego. He threw it. He was jealous of Osiris. They are the story of Abel and Cain.
Yes.
They're exactly Abel and Cain, except that they have wives. I don't know where Abel and Cain's wives in the Bible come from
Yeah,
because there were no women, there were nobody there.
they came
So,
from nearby villages.
yeah, which didn't exist yet because there were only four people on earth. So go figure.
Well,
We won't get into that. Okay. I'm not going to get into theology, it gets silly. But Set was forgiven for doing what he did because he's a god and he's divine. And the Greek gods, the Nordic gods often tore each other's heads off and kind of, they got God was like, okay, we fixed it. It's cool. And that's what happened with Set. So from being this jealous, you know, adolescent, pissed off, angry little god, he became the warrior god for medicine. And he works with the ancient Egyptian, later deified physician whose name was Imhotep. And I don't care about the guy from the movie The Mummy. Imhotep, this Imhotep was the architect of the Great Step Pyramid for Djoser. And, you know, he bound up broken legs. He was able to cure colds. He knew that honey would work as a curative for things, and he worked up with herbal magic. So he became, after he passed away, deified. Well, he connected with Set, and so Imhotep had summoned Set, and so I want us to summon Set to heal things, as well as Sekhmet. Understand that they both are passionate, strong warrior beings. They're not gentle, um, passive people, spirits. They're going to aggressively attack something that is negative and painful and hurtful and dangerous. So I say with caution, because they are fiery beings, they're solar gods and goddesses, to calm down, let the energy do its thing, but feel it radically doing what it's supposed to be doing. Okay. And I wanted to dispel the fact that Set is considered the devil or Satan. It's got nothing to do with that. I know I'm going to make a lot of Satanists angry with me. I don't care. This is the way it is. It's true that the Egyptian god is
The devil in Greek mythology by many people. Thanks to
Hercules, is a devil.
no
Heavens.
Hades.
Oh, well, even then, I mean, what did he do? The worst thing he did was steal Persephone.
I know he's the god of wealth, the wealth giver in
Yeah,
Egypt.
yeah, he's greedy. He's wealthy, but he also knew a beautiful woman when he saw her.
And he's right now very popular. There are lots of Greek romance novels based on the Greek mythology, and the romance of Hades and Persephone seems to be uh, the focus of a lot of them. So that's unforeseen, but now he's become a very romantic figure.
Well, that's the whole thing. All of the Greek gods and goddesses are beautiful. And I saw recently a documentary about the Greek gods and goddesses, and they made Hades look like Art Carney. You know,
Really,
he was, forgive me, skinny and ugly and bald and just, Persephone was this young hot thing. She wasn't gonna fall for, somebody who looked like, he'd been through the wars a little bit here. And he is the brother of Zeus. And Zeus is also extremely
right?
handsome.
Yes.
So I mean, why would a handsome god have an ugly brother? I don't think so. So the only reason Persephone would fall in love with him, and she did, it wasn't just the pomegranates. She fell in love with him because he was genuinely in love with her and genuinely handsome and loved her, and she loved him back. And she didn't want to go back to her mother. But we have to have spring, so she came back.
And there we get into the Eleusinian mysteries and their symbolism.
Very important that we do, you know. I mean, it's the same thing with my people. Osiris was a god of prosperity and health and education and vegetation and farming. And Set at the time had the Libyan desert, and he understood scorpions and tarantulas and sidewinder snakes and cacti and all the other things that were going on in the desert. And it wasn't really feeding his people. I mean, how many scorpions does it take to make a sandwich? You know?
I would
And if
imagine.
you don't have pita bread, what are you going to do? So he got jealous and he saw Osiris was doing well. And his wife, Nephthys, who is Isis' twin sister, said, this is not working for me. And she left him. And not only that, it was insulting enough. But she goes to Osiris and says, hello, Osiris, how you doing? And bingo, Anubis happens. So Set loses, not only does he lose his wife, but he loses what might have been his son. And so that was another insult. And then all of a sudden, of course, Isis has Horus later on. But Set wanted his wife back. He wanted his the power back. He wanted everything. He was jealous. He was, angry, and he just went berserk. So now Ra, after all the nonsense that went on, they say it was for 5 or 6 thousand years. What a war! Um, Ra said, "Okay, guys, that's it. Enough. You, you go to your room. You go to your room. You go back to Libya. You go back to Egypt." And what's going to happen is you're going to help us with sickness and health, and you're going to rule the human side of the world. It's interesting. I don't know which god would be. It's probably Hercules, that would take care of the mortal realm. But in Egypt, it's Horus, Heru, who I wear, of course, on my
In
chest.
Greek mythology, Hercules, after his apotheosis, his ascension, as many people would call it, he became like Saint Peter. He was like the person who guarded the portals of Olympus, but he also came to Earth. He came to the island Lemnos to make sure that Philoctetes gave his bow to Odysseus so that the Greeks can win the Trojan War. And he continued to come down to Earth and incarnate. And in other non-Greek systems, he has the position of being like the head god. So the new generation of gods were led by Hercules and Athena in some of these systems, and they had a new Olympus, Neos Olympus.
So we know who his incarnation is now, don't we? Hmm.
You know,
I think we do. Just
uh,
that I am called Azar Terrestria, which is Osiris on earth. And that is my title. That I am there because I have been through the portals of the underworld, as it were, or the after. I don't like the word underworld. It sounds like underwear. I say that we've gone to the other side, the other world, the world beyond physical life. Because I believe this, that every time we reincarnate, and I do strongly believe in reincarnation, every time we go back, we've answered another question. And there's a humongous, I call it a celestial library of knowledge. And every being dies, and every being brings that knowledge back to what it learned. There's an answer. Every life, every one of our lives is an answer, is a question and an answer. So, you died, let's say in 1927, and two people are having, or whatever, it could be two trees, what have you. There is a seed, a construction, and energy is happening. And so I believe the higher forces say, okay, Michael, number 47, it's your turn. And bingo, here we come back. And we enter, well, that spark of life begins. And they're like, okay, Mr. Phelps, your mission, should you desire to have it, mission impossible, is that you're going to be this kind of person in this part of the world with this situation. And then they go, okay, whose line is it anyway? Okay, show us. And then that's your life. And you
the,
come back and you learn and and you come back and they're like, okay, what did you learn this time? And you got the answer just sort of kind of what we were looking for, but and it always isn't, it's so much like the Greek gods, but it's not quite what we kind of wanted, so we're going to send you back. And before you know it, you're back.
that's a very theosophical view, and I ascribe to the theosophical view myself. In the ancient Greek too, it wasn't forever where you wound up. It was for a little while, and then you'd come back. And they believed that your destiny was handed to you at the time of your return, but you could swap your destiny with other people who were hanging around. Odysseus is said not to have wanted to be a hero for a while, so he swapped his destiny with a farmer, so he could take a vacation while on Earth. Uh,
Well, that's really cool. But I think it's like what I learned in theater, it's like a commedia dell'arte or an improv.
Improv, yeah.
They give you a scenario. And then you got to do, that Southern girl down here, fill in the blanks. You've got to fill in the blanks. You've got to make it up as you go along. And I was a makeup artist, so I know what I'm talking about. I'm still making it up as I went along. And it's the same thing. You've got to work that life, that one, based on what we've got. And there's pluses and minuses. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be pleasant things. There's going to be horrible things. It's that whole speech at the end of The Wizard of Oz. Some of it was beautiful, but there were some other parts that were really terrible. And it's, when I started to learn about um, theology, theosophy, and, started to teach people about, the world, the spiritual world, the theophysical world as it is, these are the things I saw that
Mhm.
that we are it's they talk about life lessons. Well, I think we are the life lessons.
I think
And yeah, we all swap it. You can, if he's supposed to have swapped that out, Hercules, that was supposed to happen. It wasn't something that, that was already written in the script.
Yeah, I believe that there's a script to follow, and that I also believe that we're aware of what our script is, even though we pretend not to be, because of the things we've said from our earliest years out loud to people. Very prophetic things about what's to come.
I mean, how do we not think that maybe instinct is that imprintation inside us that says, okay, it's our psychic GPS. You need to go to the left and go to the store on the right and say, hi, I need this, because that's what's in the script. Whether we think so or not, maybe, okay, we're not going to, okay, they're out of it leaves, so you get buffering. You know what I mean? If that even exists anymore. But that's my whole point. We have a little bit of free range there. But I do believe, as you do, that there is kind of a framework, I'll call it, that we have to work within. So when I cast a spell and I say, let there remain within this frame no adverse thought nor enmity, I'm building a frame, a spell, my ritual, that I purify the area. I'm making sure that that framework doesn't have cracks in it, doesn't have evil in it, doesn't have things that don't belong in it. And that's why that's when I'm working actually in my, you can't see it, but in my altar space. I have about 20 crystals over here. I've got cobalts. I've got gods and goddesses and spiritual energies. I even have really cute little mermaids that
So
are there. Mermaids have always been in part of my life because of my
ours
grandparents.
too. Well, our
Yeah.
bathrooms where all our mermaids
Gasp.
live in.
Are you sure we're not related? I have
Poseidon's
my
there,
whole
mermaids
bathroom
are
is covered.
there.
Yeah. My whole bathroom is covered in mermaids.
Yeah, ours too.
It's like, you sure we're not related here?
Oh, of
I
course
have
we're reading.
I mean, I've got a Zeus that
Thanks, Michael.
my friend Mary brought me a statue. It's either Poseidon or Zeus. It's like this, and it's the black cobalt one. Black
Oh, which one? Yeah, sometimes they say it's Poseidon, sometimes they say it's Zeus.
Well, she got it at a souvenir shop at the foot of the Acropolis, so it's very special to me because I'm not going to go back to the Acropolis anytime soon that I can think of. Well, the way things are going, I might want to do that though. I mean, I don't know. I hear the Greek political system right now is not so good either. So, we'll
Yeah,
see.
that's a subject of another show, but yeah, that's very true.
I mean, right now, all I care about is hanging out in Georgia, working with all of you, giving you as much energy and attention as I can. And I really want feedback. I want to know what you people think about what we're doing. It's very important to us, to all of us, to know that what we're doing is, getting in there into these little gray cells. And that's the important part because I do it, as Hercules will always tell you, with humor. And as I always say, I do it because when people laugh, they listen, they come in like this. And when they listen, they learn. They really get it. They really get it because Michael said something really funny, and it sticks with you. It's the joke, and you get the joke, and you'll tell the joke to somebody else. And before you know it, gee, people start learning about things. So there is a method to my silly madness.
No, it's not silly at all. It's very powerful and very potent, and I enjoy watching you work. You're amazing.
I'm just me. I don't pretend to be anybody more or less than plain old Michael. Yeah, I wear interesting outfits, and yeah, I work with very strong, very ancient forces, but that was given to me. And it's a gift, and what good is a gift if you don't share it? If you hide if you hide knowledge under a rock, who's gonna learn it? The slime? It's got to be for everybody, for all. And that's my philosophy of life, that what we have, we must give to others. You know, as a makeup artist, the coolest thing wasn't my tips. It wasn't that I got paid. When I saw a customer, male, if I did his eyebrows or cut his hair or colored his hair, or women, if I did her makeup, and she looked in the mirror and she liked what she saw and she felt better about herself, or he felt better about himself, that was my real pay. That was my that applause, that sense of, oh my God, I look so much better, thank you. That was that was the thing that made me feel I made somebody else's life better. That was what was important to me, and that's still that way.
And there is a magic in being a contrary type of person, not contrary in a negative way, but contrary in a positive way. I remember when was in New York City working in the human services field. I would hear people talk about how unlikely it is to be attending a meeting run by somebody who is mythical in their presentation. Their presentation, uh, and people just went along with it because that's what I was doing at the time in that place. And when you thought about it, it was weird or it didn't make sense. But if you didn't think about it, it made perfect sense. And why wouldn't I be as I am doing what I do?
It's exactly the way it works. If you think about the movie The Dead Poet Society, where the teacher is dressed in a tunic, and he's talking about Socrates and Plato and all the Greek philosophers, and he's dressed like one. Sometimes people need that visual connection, you know? If I dress the way I do in an outlandish fashion, people are going to remember it, believe me, right down to my eyeliner. I want them to know that energy's there. And it makes, when I put myself together in this fashion, I'm putting on another side of me. Michael goes out the window or goes for coffee because I often need coffee. And Setna comes in, Setna Come West, who, as you know, and I've mentioned many times, is one of my past lives. And I
Right.
do teach people through meditation and through my hypnotic work, my hypnosis work, hypnosis work, that we can go through past lives and see what's up. I had a client who always had trouble with her neck. She had trouble breathing. And we went through a past life. We found something that happened to her in Italy in the 13th century. She was part of a conspiracy. And because she was a man at that time. And because she was found out, she was hung. The moment she understood that pain that was in the back of her neck and in the front here was probably from a rope that had choked her maybe 500 years ago. And she saw that stream of consciousness, bingo, and she felt better. That whether it was actually real or that she was imagining that or what have you, or it was a past life, the reason that was there, the block was removed and she felt better.
Right.
That's what it's all about.
It doesn't matter if it was symbolic or actual, if it was a memory from a past life or something that happened to her in this life that her brain translated into being hung. It really, like you said, doesn't matter. It's the fact that through going through the symbolism, going through the experience, going through the initiation, the situation was resolved and no longer plagues the person. That's the healing.
Exactly right. That triggered healing. And that's why I use the cobalts, because it's a beautiful stone, you know? Pulling out again. It's a beautiful stone. But the blue light, I tell people the blue cross, the blue healing. And this one flashes amazing, it really does amazing work.
It looks like it has eyes, or you could look on the inside of your eye when you look at it.
It's an incredible, I have four of them, and they're on my altar with my four healing goddesses, protective goddesses. And they're there, and I have that right there. I don't know if I can show you that, but I'm going to try. Are you able to see what I'm doing?
No, I can see your temple, but I can't see you. There we go. You're
No,
back.
you can't see me, that's for sure. But because I
Now I
hello,
can.
I'm back. Oh my goodness, I'm back. Yeah. Um, there we go. But so I was showing you that those four goddesses work together protectively. That's Isis, Nephthys, Neith, and beautiful, poison, powerful Selket, who's the scorpion goddess.
European goddess.
Another goddess, protective goddess, and a goddess who also watches over health. There's a lot of them. Egyptians had a lot of gods and goddesses that have a lot, forgive me, gods and goddesses that work with health. You have Tureret, she's a hippopotamus. Um, I literally think that they created her as a goddess because she's to do with pregnancy. And how many times have you heard a woman say to you, "Oh my God, I'm so fat, I look like a hippopotamus"?
I've heard that.
So I think that that's why the Egyptians embodied that goddess in that form. And you have her helper, which is Bes, which you equate often to Hercules, telling me. And
In
he's
his,
there
his
tickling
tactilic form, in the Cretan form.
he's the one that stands in front of the woman going, "Meow," and teasing her and making her laugh, and so that she forgets the pain and she gives birth, you know? So that's there. All those different components. You don't have to look at them, this one has a snake head, this one has a cat, this one's a dog, this one's a horseshoe crab. That's not important. Those are what the Egyptians used to represent the energy that those beings can bring you. And that's what's important. We often talked about them as being possibly space aliens. And I've often come to the conclusion, and I've said it on many of our shows, that what if the woman that had a snake in front of her face, or the woman that had a cat in front of her face, if that was some kind of an astronaut's mask, a helmet? We don't know that it wasn't. But you look at this thing and it's got points on it up here, and maybe there's like antennae coming out of the front, and it looks like a cat. Or, this one looks like a
They
lion,
look
or
like
that looks
cats. And they could have physically looked like cats or lions, and those type of aliens are still part of our consciousness now. People still experience ethereomorphic animal as outer space aliens that have divine powers or celestial associations. So that might have been true also in ancient times as well.
exactly. My housemate, we were at breakfast this morning, and we were sitting across the table from each other, and he said something about he's been getting energy from what he thinks are snake beings, like the miniseries V. He was seeing men and women with kind of a cobra head, and snaky scales or alligator scale arms and legs and bodies and things with clothes on, um, but very much snake lizard, but snake lizard type people. And he was saying he really believes that that's true. He said, well, we have sunblock that we apply. Well, alligators and crocodiles and snakes and things have very thick scales, and so their bodies are literally sunblock. So isn't it possible that those beings came from a place where they could resist solar, the sun or something? If let's say they were from Venus, which is closer to the sun, or to Mars, which the energy goes above the Earth, and or what have you, or on some of the satellite planets, the little tiny ones, the little we call moons. Um, Maybe those people live in those beings live there, and they have that kind of a body form. We don't know, but isn't it possible that the ancients did know, and that's why they represented these gods and goddesses that way?
That is very true, and we've done a bunch, as you mentioned, of shows on that, and we'll continue to do them. And I used to, at one point for many years, have like an Ancient Aliens type of show, and I'm bringing that back this year because there's a lot of really good material to feed our speculations and to see things in a new way. And that way has some merit because some of the things described as bees, for instance, look more like airplanes, and they're aerodynamic, and they fly like airplanes. So we might need to rethink. There's something that looks like a laptop computer with a UBS port, an image from antiquity.
The
There,
one that makes me, I'm going to interrupt you though. The one that makes me angry is the light bulb. If you really examine that, there's
Mhm.
a snake. It is the canopy over a boat. It's an odd shaped canopy, but it's a canopy. And if you go back to that movie Cleopatra, and you look at the little Ptolemy who's on his little sedan chair, they even show you what that looks like. It's this
Right.
ovaline little. It looks like something that belongs to a 1974 Buick.
Yeah, I've seen different explanations for that. Also, the Baghdad batteries, even though they seem to be batteries, there are a lot of interpretations of it that contradict that. But still, it's important to look at these things, and it's important to try to fit them in, or to expand our understanding based on our current knowledge. Because when what these things were hypothesized and identified initially, we lived in a very different world. And now that we live in this world, we can look at things in a different way and ask ourselves different questions.
It's true. I mean, look, we lost, after the Library of Alexandria was burned down for the second time, we lost tremendous ancient knowledge that our ancestors had all along, and that we got into what we call the medieval or the dark ages, because we all got stupid. People were doing things, oh my God, this one's a witch or that one's a demon or what, because they didn't understand and they didn't have any kind of a textbook or any kind of some kind of information that would tell them this is what this really is. And the ancients, I believe, knew that. And it was kind of we're kind of where they used to be, I think, but not quite. I mean, there's so many things, for instance, there are ancient temples in Greece where Pythagoras, I believe, and Ptolemy created, and Archimedes, oh my God, one of my heroes. Archimedes created doors that could open and close with steam,
Yes,
and
like
they know
everything,
that he did all kinds
supermarkets
of
and
other
cars.
amazing things. Yeah. But the medieval people didn't know how to do that.
Light rays. They had a type of repeating shooting, like metal, not metal, wooden stake type of things, like a machine gun that shot bolts like a crossbow. They had all sorts of things that we don't credit them having. They had lighthouses that,
Yeah, they said the library, the lighthouse, the Pharaoh's lighthouse in Alexandria was also a death ray. They could burn ships down with that thing.
yes, they could. People think of the principle of the magnifying glass, uh,
Mhm.
concentrating the rays of the sun. Yeah, they made those and they used to burn ships from far away.
Yeah. So I mean, these are things that the medi are 500 years ago. They had no clue about them because they had lost all that information because the Goths had sacked Rome and the Romans had destroyed the Library of Alexandria, and then later on the Egyptian Christians did the same thing. They burned it to the ground, and that poor Hippolyta was her name. They killed her, and she was the last keeper of the library before they burned it to the ground.
Citadia, yeah,
Yeah,
they,
Hypatia. Um, uh,
they scraped her flesh off her bones. They did all sorts of horrible things to
they
her.
killed her. Yeah, they skinned her alive, and they cut her head off after while she was screaming. Lovely people, and these are Christians. That I won't get into it, but that doesn't show me something about a loving, caring God. And that wasn't the God's fault. That was the way people interpreted things. And let's leave it at that. It's not divine retribution, it was human retribution.
Very true. The history of religion is full of not only scandal but atrocity.
Now,
Now we're approaching the end of today's conversation, and you have spoken of many things that I'll be experimenting with until our next conversation, especially around the cobalt. Currently, the aspect of my operant archetype or my inner god that I'm working on is a very ancient, for which there's a lot of literature, but it's hidden. Even though you could buy it from Barnes and Noble or Amazon, the history, it's not, there's not a light shining on it saying, read me and then you'll understand. But all this stuff is, again, in the literature, but it's a very obscure version of Hercules that was more universal. And this same aspect of Hercules arose during the post-Blavatsky and Theosophical era, with Alice Bailey and the I Am movement. So I'm playing with those, and in those, the symbolism associated with Hercules is blue, and it's very Uranian sky type of energy, and it's tied with the throat and communication, a very Hermian type of energy as well. So that's what I've been focusing on for a bunch of years now, because I feel the communication is very important and it's much needed, and that's what inspires this whole effort with the podcasts and the e-radio shows and the movies that I've made and the television shows and everything that's behind it, motivating it all to reach out through the communication areas that we have, to touch as many people as possible, not to, as you pointed out, convert them to a particular way of seeing the world, but to have them sit and think and seek more information. And I'm very glad we're on the same wavelength, and I am very grateful to you for coming on to our shows and sharing some of your hard-won wisdom with us. So thank you very much.
My pleasure and my honor, always.
And how can people find you and enter your world?
It's very simple, both on Instagram and in Facebook. If you go to the Pernateru Temple, you can find me. You can find me also on um, the phonawizard.com, because that's on Facebook and also on Instagram. That is my work. That will teach you about my services that I do. The Pernatera will tell you about the temple services, about initiations, about what tools I use, what we use, how I work with the deity, the higher spirit. I also will always tell people that I will work with you on a etheric level. I have my beliefs. And if they're in tune with you, fine. If they're not, just take what I'm doing and mix it into your own cup of tea. That works better. You can get me at Michael K. Waterman on Facebook. You can get me at mkwaterman.com, which is my email address, or you can call me 516-650-3691. I'm not going to give out my Chatham Parkway address. It's kind of silly. Um, I find writing to people with the snail mail thing doesn't really work. I would rather see people email me or call me. I'm very open, and I'm very accessible. Is what I'm trying to say.
Thank you very much for everything. I wish you success with all your endeavors, great and small. And I look forward to our next conversation, my friend.
You too. Life, health, and prosperity to all, and blessed be. And enjoy this spring. It's beautiful.
Thank you. I can't add to what you said. You said it all. Thanks a lot, Setna.
Blessings.